sons, one who's about 2 years out of Santa Clara and the other one's who's a junior at Berkeley. And so I'd kind of heard about Facebook sort of through their experiences in college, but I'd never been on it or really experienced what it was about. And we had started Altura Ventures, myself and my older son, to really focus on helping entrepreneurs go through kind of key transitions in their business life, whether that's fundraising or building a team or negotiating to sell their business, which are kind of like key transition points for any software startup. And that's really what Altura Ventures was doing. And we had an idea for a startup ourselves that we're going to launch, and it's still in stealth mode. It's called Callout, spelled with a K. So I won't talk about what Callout's doing, but while we were working on all of that, one of our investors sent me a little note about the story of iLike. And many of you probably heard about iLike. Prior to Altura Ventures, I was CEO of Shop.com, and we had founded Catalog City in 1997, and it took us about 9 years to grow from 0 users to 500,000 users at Shop.com when I left there to start Altura Ventures. And when I read this iLike article, they grew from 0, they basically added 600,000 users in 8 hours. And I said, what am I doing wrong here? It took me 9 years to add 500,000, and they added 600,000 users in 8 hours. So clearly something was happening inside of Facebook and on the Facebook platform that I wanted to understand. And so from that point on, I really just kind of dove in and started to kind of grok the platform and made the decision to really become, on July 4th, the first Facebook-only venture capital firm. And that's what Altura Ventures is. And we started down a path of investing in Facebook apps and acquiring a number of Facebook apps. And one of the first ones was actually a company a single developer who had developed something called Appaholic, not to be confused with Appsaholic. Appaholic was a site that gave basic statistics on Facebook apps. And we rebranded that to Adanomics and have created actually a lot of functionality within that. Essentially, here are the top Facebook apps and the number of active users, some Facebook facts. We're going to spend some part of the time here talking about what happened today with regard to the Facebook or Microsoft's investment in Facebook at a $15 billion valuation. I'll kind of be willing to debate anyone about why I actually think that's a low valuation for Facebook. My number for Facebook is $100 billion, and we can get into why that is here in a minute. So you can see I'm kind of on the optimistic end of the valuation perspective, and we'll explain why in a little bit. One of the features here is obviously we have all the Facebook applications. There's about, changes all the time, 6,779. There's actually 160,000 developers that are evaluating the platform or writing applications for that. And you can see that in order to write an app for Facebook, you have to download the developer app, and if you look in the forum, you can see all the members in that group, and I checked today, it's like 169,000 developers around the world. Part of the genius of Facebook is they found a way, kind of like Tom Sawyer or Huck Finn or whatever, to get everyone else to paint the fence. They didn't have the resources to go out and hire like Google hired. That Google's up to 16,000 employees. Microsoft has 80,000 employees. And part of the genius of Facebook is by opening up the platform and saying that the developers get 100% of the revenue. There's no tax on developers for what happens in their Canvas page. They really excited the entire world, just like, I'm part of that world, to start investing their time and effort and money in building things for Facebook to make it better. And the reason why people do that, the reason why I'm excited about it, and we have the people in the room, is it's a chance to plug your application into this existing social graph that when I was first introduced to the platform, it had about 20 million members. It's up to about 50 million right now, and that's essentially in about a 4-month time period. They're doubling every 6 months at this point in time. By the end of 2008, there'll be over 200 million users on Facebook. They're going to be the dominant platform in the U.S., Canada, Great Britain, Europe, Australia. It's very clear that in those markets, Facebook is either at or past the tipping point for dominating in terms of a social network. And they do that because they're a social operating system. And I believe that a given country chooses a single social operating system. And Google Orkut is the single social network, and eventually it'll be an operating system when they add platform pieces. It's the dominant platform in Brazil. Friendster is the dominant platform in the Philippines. And Facebook is going to be dominant in all of those other markets that I described. And once a country picks a social network like that and a critical mass of people adopt it, then the network effects sort of take hold, and it becomes almost impossible to move people away from it. I've said that it's equivalent to having a native language for your country, trying to get everyone in a given country to say, oh, it's now time to speak German. Let's all speak German together. And that's a very hard transition to make, and I think it's the same thing in terms of getting a massive number of people to shift out of a social operating system that has the kind of viral flow and connectivity that Facebook does. So given that, so really as a developer and hopefully in a room full with a lot of developers, Facebook is really God's gift to developers, because never in the past, I've been in the software industry for 25 plus years, and I've never been able to write a piece of software and without hiring a marketing team, put it into an environment where literally within days or a month you could have 800,000 users. The fact that people have talked about, well, the platform is kind of, they've dialed back the viral nature of the platform, and it's no longer as possible to do that. We wanted to test that with one of the companies that we invested in, and so we wrote this application called Waterfight. And essentially it's like many of the invite engines or fighting games within Facebook, is you throw a water balloon at someone and then they react and throw a sponge at you, or maybe whatever it might be. I'm going to talk a little bit about why an app goes viral, and then we'll get into the broader discussion of how these apps are valued. To give you just kind of a little picture, and hopefully this will work.